Well, Putin talks about in order to end all of this, they have to eliminate the quote-unquote root causes of the war and create a memorandum of a possible future peace agreement, which is all a bit wishy-washy. It doesn't exactly fill you with hope. But when he says, eliminate the root causes, well, what are the root causes that he sees?
From Putin's perspective, the elimination of Ukraine as a sovereign nation state. Essentially, what he wants is to destroy Ukraine as a sovereign nation state, remove the Ukrainian government, impose a Russian puppet government on the Ukrainian people, and enslave the Ukrainian people under Russian occupation. That's his definition of eliminating the root causes of the problem, because really, Putin has created the problem here. Putin invaded Ukraine first in 2014 when he seized Crimea with the little green men, and then in 2022 with the main invasion that is still underway today. What he wants to do initially is capture those 4 territories that he partially controls at the moment, but capture them in entirety, and then expand his control across Ukraine itself to ultimately take Kyiv. And I think that there's no intention whatsoever on Putin's part to seek a just and fair peace.
You talk about Putin feeling like he could win this war militarily. Obviously, to this point, that hasn't been possible because Ukraine has been continually armed to fight them off. But we know about the relationship, the building relationship between China and Russia. How real is the concern that China could get involved in conflict?
Well, look, there's already been some suggestion that there are Chinese troops involved in the fighting as volunteers. And that maybe the PLA has actually dispatched observers to the rear areas to watch how the Russians carry out operations and learn from that. I think the Chinese government is already involved to a degree in terms of supplying militarily relevant technologies to Russia that allow them to develop new military capabilities. At a strategic level, China is also assisting Russia to circumvent sanctions imposed by the West. That's one of the reasons why the sanctions that have been laid against Russia haven't been that effective. That's allowed Russia to reorient its economy into a wartime mode, and thus, as a result, be in a much better position to sustain the Ukraine war effort and build up for a wider war against NATO. So I do think that China is involved in this across different levels, but in terms of an actual direct combat role on a large scale, I think we're probably not there yet.
I want to return to the news yesterday that the European Union are now keen to strike a new defence deal with Australia. Obviously, Anthony Albanese going over to meet the Pope has had these discussions with Ursula von der Leyen. She seems keen to do something. They've done a few deals like this of late. What would Europe be expecting of us?
Look, I think that this is a mutually beneficial opportunity. From Europe's perspective, they want to maintain influence in the Indo-Pacific because they don't just face an aggressive expansion as Russia. They also face a rising China that is backing Russia, but also seeking to impose its own interests on European security. And so having allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific makes eminent sense for Brussels, in the sense that they can then have greater ability to work with the likes of Australia or New Zealand or Japan or others to actually deter and counter China and prevent them from imposing its will on Europe. And certainly from our perspective, we could gain a lot by having a stronger relationship with Europe as well in terms of defence industry cooperation and capability development.
Well, I was going to say just quickly, Michael, I mean, we need it as much as they do, right? Because we can't counter China in the Pacific on our own either.
We can't. I mean, obviously, we still have a vital and important strategic alliance with the United States. I don't see that going away, irrespective of concerns about President Trump. But in this strategic environment of essentially being in a pre-war period, you can never have too many friends. And so I think it makes sense for us to pursue this closer defence relationship with Europe, as well as strengthening our relationship with the United States.
Malcolm Davis, thank you so much for your time as always.